The Premier League has come to an end, and you know what that means. It's time to go back and look at what I predicted before the start of the season to see how much of it I got wrong. No, but seriously, I have a good feeling about this year. I feel like I did a lot better than last time, which was a complete disaster. So to rank how good or bad my predictions were, I'm gonna add up points based on by how many spots I missed out on that prediction. For example, if I had predicted Manchester United to finish 4th, I would get 4 points because they finish 8th. No, because 8 minus 4 is 4. So basically what I want to do here is get as few points as possible. The lower the points, the better my prediction was. Alright, I'm excited. What's the first team? Bournemouth. Jesus Christ. I have once again come here to apologize to Bournemouth. This time I didn't butcher that name, but again I put them dead last. And not only they survived relegation again, they went far and beyond and finished 12th in mid-table, a whole 8 places above of what I predicted. What are the other teams I predicted to relegate? This is already a disaster. Luton Town and Everton. Alright, Luton Town, I think it was a fairly safe pick to relegate. They ended up finishing 18th, so that's another point for me. But I feel like that was a pretty obvious one to predict. As for Everton, they ended up surviving quite comfortably. Even with the point deduction that they suffered midway through the season, they finished 15th. So yeah, that was another bad call on my end. Wolves, Sheffield and Nottingham Forest. Wolves finished 14th, so that's another 3 points for me. They were never in any danger of relegating, so it wasn't really that good of a prediction, but it was only 3 spots away, so I guess it wasn't that bad. Now Sheffield United surviving, that was a bad call. Like, they finished dead last and they have an argument to be one of the worst Premier League sides we've ever seen. And Nottingham Forest, they ended up being very close to relegating. They finished 17th, so that's another 2 points for me. The relegation scrap really wasn't that impressive this season, with all 3 teams that came from the championship relegating back down, and with no drama at all going into the last match day. Fulham, Burnley and West Ham. Fulham ended only 1 spot higher than what I predicted, so that's a pretty good prediction for me. Now a really bad one was predicting Burnley to finish 13th. They ended up 6 spots lower in 19th and relegating back down to the championship. I had really high hopes for Burnley after what Vincent Kompany had done in the championship campaign with them, playing some really attractive football, but I failed to recognize that attractive football doesn't really cut it for lower table sides in the Premier League. So yeah, awful call, Burnley went down. West Ham 12th could have been a disaster because they started off the season really well, but they ended up having a bit of a slump during the middle of the season and their end to the campaign wasn't really brilliant either, so in the end they finished 9th, so that's 3 more points for me. Brentford, Crystal Palace and Tottenham. I'm starting to have a really bad relationship with Brentford because last time I predicted them to go down and they finished near the European spots, and now that I predicted them to be mid-table they finished 16th. A lot of it came off the back of Ivan Toney's ban through the middle of the season, but still, they still finished 5 spots lower than what I predicted. Finally, the first perfect prediction was Crystal Palace to finish in the middle of the table. And I have to thank Oliver Glasner because at the start of the season it looked like Crystal Palace were gonna be on a relegation scrap, but because of their massive winning streak they ended up pushing all the way to 10th to match my prediction. Now Tottenham 9th, like I was just mad at Tottenham for how bad they performed last season. They ended up finishing 5th, so like not a huge improvement, but still they did much better than what I predicted them to. So I'm sorry Spurs, I was a bit too mean to you guys. Brighton, Chelsea and Manchester United. Brighton 8th I'm fairly happy with because I did expect Brighton to miss out on Europe. I felt like it was gonna be too difficult to replicate what they had done last season. They ended up doing even worse, finishing 11th. That's another 3 points for me, but honestly I'm happy with how my analysis on this one was presented. Now Chelsea 7th, for the boys and girls. Chelsea was very close to replicating what they did last season, finishing mid-table, but in the last few match days they had a huge winning streak which pushed them back into Europe, and Chelsea ended up overperforming my prediction by 1 spot. So congratulations Chelsea for finishing 6th and being back in the Europa League. Now Manchester United 6th is another prediction that I'm happy with, because I did predict many things about United right. I was skeptical of the signings of Onana and Mason Mount. I thought that double competition with the Champions League would not be good for them. I said they have a great first team, but their backups are really bad and they have a lot of injury prone players. And what happened? They got a lot of injuries and they ended up playing with a lot of different centre back partnerships. And that costed them badly, but even worse than what I predicted, they finished 8th outside of Europe. So yeah, once again, I'm very proud with how my analysis went for this one, but gosh, they were awful this season. And we still couldn't beat them, like fuck's sake, man. Aston Villa, Arsenal and Newcastle. I believed in Unai Emery and Aston Villa, but they were far and beyond what I predicted. They finished one spot higher, making the top 4 and the Champions League. I'm proud because I've been on the Aston Villa train for a long time now, but even I have to congratulate them for going beyond what I expected from them. I was skeptical that Arsenal could replicate what they did last season contesting for the title again, but they ended up contesting for the title again, and not winning it again. At least I predicted them to make Champions League again, but it was not an amazing prediction. Now Newcastle 3rd, I think I was getting a bit too excited on Newcastle here. Sure, they had been great last season, but we didn't see much of it in this one. They ended up finishing 7th, and the only way they will qualify for European football is if Manchester City win the FA Cup, which, come on. But still, it was a really bad prediction to have them in the top 3. Now, the team that I have finishing in 2nd place is Liverpool. I believed in Liverpool to make a full-on comeback, and we were there. We were right there in the title race. And then in April it all fell apart. We dropped so many points and ended up dropping to 3rd, and with no title contentions in the final match days. It was a sad way to go for Jurgen Klopp, who ended up announcing that he was leaving through the middle of the season. And yeah, they finished one spot below what I predicted us to do. And yes, I also have Manchester City winning the league again. Yeah, this was obvious again. So in the end I picked up 54 points. It looks like a lot, but I did a lot better than what I did last season, so I'm pretty happy with outdoing myself. Anyway, tell me how your Premier League predictions have aged down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you all next time.